Ever wondered what India looked through the eyes of various travelers? They came to India, they saw India, and they wrote everything down. And today we are going to discuss about various travelers that came to India and what important aspects is to be covered when we are discussing about the examinations perspective. So without any further delay, we are just going to start the topic, and our first traveler is Megasthenes. Friends, Megasthenes visited India in the year 302 BC and was there present approximately for 4 years by 298. So friends, after the first Chandragupta Maurya, after the war of Chandragupta Maurya and Seleucus Nicator, they signed a peace treaty, and after that they formed matrimonial alliances. Chandragupta Maurya gifted 500 war elephants to Seleucus Nicator. So after that, this particular person, Megasthenes, was sent by Seleucus Nicator in the court of Chandragupta Maurya, and there he was present for approximately 4 years. So this Megasthenes, he used to refer Chandragupta Maurya as Sandrocotus. Sandrocotus. So basically he was an ambassador in the court of Chandragupta Maurya, and later on he wrote a book about India named Indica, and it was important early account of Indian society and administration. It was important account of Indian society and administration. So this was all about the Megasthenes. He was basically a Greek ambassador. So moving towards the next slide, friends, we have Fahian or Fahin. Basically visited in the year 405 to 411 AD. So which means after the birth of Christ. So Fahian was a Buddhist monk who traveled from China, and basically he wanted to visit the Lumbini, that is the birthplace of Gautam Buddha. That was his visit, was kind of pilgrimage. So along after his travel, he wrote a travelogue known as Record of Buddhist Kingdom. Okay, so this was all about the Fahian, who was a Chinese traveler. Moving towards the next slide, friends, we have Huan-Sang. Okay, Huan-Sang was also another Chinese scholar, and he traveled India during the reign of Harshavardhana, and he wrote a book about the aspect of India or western regions, and this book is named as CUK. CUK was the name of the book written by Huan-Sang. So he visited during the reign of Harshavardhana, and he also visited in the northeastern part that was under the control of Kumar Bhaskar Varman of Varman dynasty. So basically everything he has mentioned in the book known as CUK. Moving towards our next traveler, he is Al-Biruni. Al-Biruni, basically he came to India in the year 1024 and was present approximately for 6 years. Al-Biruni came to India with Mahmud of Ghazni of the Ghaznavid Empire, and one of the most important aspect, he authored the book Tahqiq-e-Hind. Tahqiq-e-Hind. Basically this book was in Persian, and there is one more translation of this particular book known as Kitab al-Hind. Kitab al-Hind, this is the Arabic version of the book. So this book is a comprehensive study of Indian culture, science and religion, and he was often termed or regarded as the father of Indian studies or Indology. So this was the contribution of Al-Biruni, who came to India with the Mahmud of Ghazni of the Ghaznavid Empire. Moving towards the next slide, friends, we are having Marco Polo. Marco Polo, he basically came to India from the Venetian explorer. Marco Polo visited India. Basically, he visited the southern parts of India during the rule of Rudrama Devi of the Kakatiya dynasty. Friends, Rudrama Devi was the first female ruler of the Kakatiya dynasty, and why she was accepted as the king? Because of her efficiency, be it war tactics or be it the administration. She was very efficient, and maybe that is the reason she was accepted wholeheartedly by the Kakatiyans, by the common people of the Kakatiya region or dynasty. So moving towards the next traveler, we have Ibn Battuta. Traveled in the year 1333 and was present approximately for 14 years. So Ibn Battuta was an Moroccan explorer. Morocco is a country in the Africa. Basically, it is a country in the Africa. So he arrived in India during the rule of Muhammad bin Tughlaq of the Tughlaq dynasty of the Delhi Sultanate, and he wrote a book known as Rihla. Rihla is a basically you can consider it as a kind of travelogue, and basically it covers his extensive travels across Asia and Africa. Asia and African continent he traveled, and this travel is mentioned in the book named as Rihla. Moving towards the next slide or the next traveler, friends, we have Niccolo de Conti. Niccolo de Conti came to India in the year 1420 and was present up to 1421. 1421, basically he was an Italian merchant and visited India in the era of Devraya I of the Vijayanagar Empire. There were 4 dynasties in the Vijayanagar Empire, and the name of these dynasties were Sangama, Suluva, Tuluva and Araividu. So he visited during the reign of the Vijayanagar Empire. There is one more traveler named as Abdul Razak. He was a Persian diplomat and scholar, visited India again during the reign of the Vijayanagar Empire, Devraya II. Devraya II, and he was sent by he was sent as an ambassador by the Persian ruler of the. Moving towards the next slide, friends, we are having Afanasy Nikitin. Basically, he was from Russia. He was a Russian traveler who visited Bahmani Sultanate under Mahmud Shah, and he documented the journey beyond 3 seas. Basically, this is all about Afanasy Nikitin. Domenico Paes and Fernão Nunes were 2 Portuguese travelers that came to India again during the rule of the Vijayanagar Empire. Domenico Paes came to India during the rule of Krishna Dev Raya of Vijayanagar Empire. Fernão Nunes came to India during the rule of Vijayanagar Empire of the king Achyut Deva Raya of Tuluva dynasty. As I have mentioned earlier, there were 4 dynasties in that empire: Sangama, Suluva, Tuluva and Araividu. So he wrote detailed account of the empire history of Achyut Deva Raya's rule. So friends, moving towards the next slide, this is the pictures of Nikitin, Domenico Paes and Fernão Nunes. Moving towards the next slide, this is one of the most important travelers. Okay, and we expect questions from this particular traveler. Why? Because Captain William Hawkins, he was the first Britishers basically who came, one of the first Britishers who came to India, and their goal was to establish a factory in India. He visited in Jahangir's court, but however, he was not able to get the permission to establish the factory because Jahangir was given some sort of money or bribe by the Portuguese, because at that time Portuguese were dominating. Friends, why this particular person is known as captain? Because he came to India through a ship, and the name of the ship is often asked in the examination. The name of that particular ship is Hector. Hector is the name of ship whose captain was Captain William Hawkins. He visited in the year 1608. However, his mission was not that successful because he was not able to get the permissions from Jahangir to establish a factory in India. by the East India Company. However, this issue was later on solved by Sir Thomas Roe in the year 1650. 1615. 1615, basically Sir Thomas Roe is as an English ambassador came to India in the year 1615 during the reign of Jahangir. His mission was also the same. However, this time he was able to get the permission and he wrote a journal named as Journal of the Mission to the Mughal Empire. There was one more famous traveler whose name was Francois Bernier. He was a French and basically he was a physician to the Prince Darashikoh, the son of Aurangzeb. So basically his writings were travels in the Mughal Empire. So basically friends, this is a holistic idea about the various travelers that came to India and what are the books they have written. If you want to learn more interesting topics in simple and holistic manner, stay connected with Edufy. Thank you.